Okay, Mr. Chair, I can confirm we have quorum and you may begin when you're ready.
Okay. Thank you, Carol. Good morning. My name is Councillor Mark Grimes. I'm the Chair of the Board of Exhibition Place. The Clerkhouse confirmed we have quorum. So I'd like to call the special meeting number 10 to order. Welcome, everyone. This meeting is being held using the city's WebEx technology with members of staff connecting by video conference or calling in. Because we are meeting remotely, we ask for your patience with any delays and technical issues. Members of the public can also observe the meeting on YouTube. I would like to request that staff keep their video turned off unless they need to speak or answer questions. This will make it easier for me as chair, for those who are watching on YouTube, to observe members as they participate in the debate on each item and during votes. I also ask that all members of staff keep their microphones on mute unless you need to answer a question or speak. If any members do wish to speak on an item, please make sure your video is on and raise your hand or unmute your mic and indicate your intention to speak, and I'll create a speakers list. When voting, I ask that members make sure your video is turned on and you raise your hand to indicate your vote. Members, I want to remind you that although we are participating remotely, you must still submit your motions in writing to the clerk. The clerk staff are available by email at epb@toronto.ca. Although we're meeting remotely, the Board of Governors of Exhibition acknowledges the land we are meeting on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Contract Entry Act? If you're interested, please raise your hand and unmute your mic. Seeing none, we now have one item on the agenda, 10.1, enabling remote electronic participation of the Board of Governors Exhibition Place meeting during an emergency. There is a staff report with this recommendation. Does anyone have any questions of staff on this item? Seeing none, does anyone wish to speak to the item?
Happy to move it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Holiday would move the item. We can just display the motion on the screen, Madam Clerk. Is the motion up?
The recommendation in the report is on its way. There it
Okay.
is.
Okay, you see the motion? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. This now concludes the business. The special meeting is now adjourned. Thank you. Okay. Okay, as the case, our special meeting, this meeting has been held using the city's web technology. The members of staff connecting by video conference or calling in. We ask for your patience and delays of technological issues. Members of the public observe the meeting on YouTube. This is meeting 11. We currently have a registered speaker who has been connected to the meeting by audio, who will be speaking on 3 different items, 13, 14, and 23. Is that right, Madam Clerk?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Okay. I will go through again, although we're at different locations and meeting remotely today, the committee would like to acknowledge the land we are meeting on as official territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Are there any declarations of interest or municipal conflict of interest? If you have an interest, please raise your hand and unmute your mic. Seeing none, I need a motion to convert the minutes from our last meeting, February 11th, 2020.
I so move.
I'm sorry, who was that?
That was Howard.
Thank you, Howard. Moved by Mr. Lickman. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. I will now go through the agenda here. We also have a new motion. We're adding Toronto Hydroelectric Systems easement. We can add that at the end. So right now we'll go through the agenda. So members, please unmute your mics. I'm going to go through this. And if you'd like to hold it, please just speak out. .11.1 multi-year agreement with association client. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.2 multi-year agreement with corporate client. Councillor Hall, do you move that? I'll move the item. All in
So
favor?
moved, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Councillor Hall, moves it. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.3 2020 license agreement with Screamers. I'll move that. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.4 multi-year agreement with Gala event producer at the Beanfield Center.
Also move. Howard.
Howard moved 11.4. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.5 soft drink sponsorship agreement. Moved by Councillor Cressy. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.6 agreement for automated teller machines. Moved by Councillor Holiday. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.7 agreement for sheet metal contractor service and related works to Exhibition Place. Moved by Deputy Mayor Holiday. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.8 agreement for supply and delivery of HVAC filters.
I'll move it. Howard.
Moved by Howard. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.9 audit results from year-end report from the financial statements for Exhibition Place in the year-end December 31st, 2019. We'll hold that. We have we have Auditor Terry McKinnon here from PwC to answer any questions. I'd like to hold that down. Seeing none, moved by Councillor Cressy. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.10 Lakeshore Billboard Sign Agreement. Branded Cities.
Could I hold that down, please?
Yeah, hold that.
Yeah, thanks.
11.11 Exhibition Place Management Report, fourth quarter 2019. Councilor Holly, you're gonna move receive the item.
So moved,
All in
Mr.
favor?
Chair.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.12 Exhibition Place Security Court year-end 2019.
Question,
Question?
Mr. Chair.
Hold that down. .13 2017-2019 Strategic Plan Achievements Year 3. Moved by Ms. Romaine.
I'd like to hold that, sorry. I'd like to hold,
Oh,
yeah.
I think we have speakers on that also. Yeah, we have speakers, I'm sorry, speakers on that. 11.14 2020 capital budget update due to COVID-19. We have speakers. 11.15 business recovery planning update due to COVID-19. Moved by Councillor Cressy. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.16 2020 operating budget financial impact update due to COVID-19. Moved by Ms. Romaine. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.17 occupational health and safety report first quarter 2020. Moved by Mr. Leon.
So moved.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.18 exhibition place management report first quarter 2020.
So
Moved by
moved.
Mr. Leon. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.19 exhibition place finance report first quarter March 31st, 2020. Moved by Mr. Lickman. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 11.20, tenant liaison consultation meeting, January 2020. Moved by Councillor Cressy, all in favor, opposed, carried. 11.21, 2021 electrical and mechanical services price list. Show
Peter here,
Power
hold,
Lighting.
please. Hold.
11.22, Toronto Police Service Board mounted unit occupancy agreement with 15 Nova Scotia Avenue, the Horse Palace.
Peter,
Move.
hold.
Hold. 11.23, Exodus Place Master Plan update. We have speakers. 11.24, Transportation Innovation Zones.
So moved. Peter,
Moved by Mr. Leon, all in favor, opposed, carried. 11.25, 2019 Capital Works Program year-end report. Moved by Councillor Cressy, all in favor, opposed, carried. And we need to add the new business, 11.26, the Toronto Hydro item, which you should have. Motion to add to the agenda by Deputy Mayor Holiday, all in favor, opposed, carried. Okay. Carol, we good? Madam Clerk?
Everything's good, Mr. Chair.
Okay. We'll now go to our first item, which is 11.10 Lakeshore Billboard Sign Agreement by Branded Cities. Councillor Cressy, you held the items. Questions of staff?
Yeah, I do have a few. Thank you, Chair. I'll direct this to our CEO. So am I correct in understanding that and I won't go into the in-camera portion of this, that the recommendation here is for the board to endorse the application in front of us subject to the city providing approvals. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So do we know that, because there's no report in front of us on whether the proposal we're being asked to endorse complies with city policy. So do we have input here as to whether the proposal adheres to city policy within the municipal code and our bylaws, or whether it would require an amendment?
It's hard that through the chair, yes, the Branded City will comply with all permits and bylaw under Chapter 694. That's part of the recommendation.
So, but my understanding here is that they would be seeking, the proposal in front of us seeks amendments. And so I'm curious whether the proposal we're being asked to endorse, whether city staff have reviewed it and whether we have input on that.
In the last month, we got in touch with city staff in the signed bylaw unit, Ted Van Viet, to give him the heads up, and he's fully aware, and he will work with Exhibition Place and City Real Estate to make sure if there's any amendment that's required, it would all, Branded City will comply with those. Yeah.
So I understand that if an application is submitted, that the city bylaw unit would work with the applicant. They always do. But I guess my question is, does the proposal in front of us we're being asked to endorse currently comply with the city bylaw policies?
Councillor, to the...
Does it currently comply?
To the best of my knowledge, in discussion with Branded City, because this is their expertise, and they have been to the city many times over the years, they're fully aware of all the requirements to comply, and they will, they've guaranteed us that they will do everything in their power to comply with all the city requirements. If not, they will not get to go ahead to install the sign.
Well, they wouldn't get the go ahead, perhaps. That would be up to city council. I guess that's what I'm asking is, do we have any correspondence from the City of Toronto signed bylaw unit to say that what we are being asked to endorse, the proposal in front of us, currently complies with city policy? Because we're being asked to endorse that proposal. And so before endorsing it, I would like to know whether the proposal I'm being asked to endorse currently complies or not.
Councillor, no, we don't have anything in writing from the city department. Usually we have to bring this matter in front of the Board of Governors first and get the board to approve before they could submit their proposal and drawings and sketches to get approval.
Okay, I mean, I suppose those are all my questions, Mr. Chair. I will acknowledge, because we're meeting virtually, that I have a concern with that approach, and I have emailed clerks and Mr. Chair, I just sent you a text around how we might be able to resolve this.
Thank you, Councillor Cressy.
Question?
I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor Holliday?
Question, Mr. Chair, thank you. May I go ahead?
Go ahead, Councillor Holliday.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to staff. Really, my question is one, do we know if the signs that are proposed are as of right?
No, I do not believe they're as of right. Right now, it's a static sign, so they actually exist today, and this is going from a static sign to an LED display. And so size and proportion is all very, very similar. It's going to a motion, and that is something where they need to go to the licensing bylaw to get the approval on the conversion of these large static signs.
Okay, but the conversion to digital, do we know if that's an as of right conversion? So certain parts of the city are allowed digital and some are not. Do we know if that's as of right in this case?
I don't know that, and I don't believe it is.
Thank you. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Any further questions to the item? Seeing none speakers? Councillor Cressy?
And so my apologies, I had emailed late the clerk's office my intention to seek to move a motion on this. But I emailed them late, and I don't believe that they're ready. So I'm not sure if Mr. Speaker, you would like us to hold this down, and that's my fault, I apologize, or whether somebody else wants to speak.
Okay, Madam Clerk, have you got Councillor Cressy's motion?
We just need about another minute to complete it.
Okay, I'm gonna hold this down. Any further speakers to the item? Then we'll just hold this down. We'll come back to it, okay?
And my apologies, Mr. Chair, thank you.
No problem, Councillor Cressy. Okay, our next item is 11.12, Exhibition Place Security Report, year-end 2019. Councillor Holliday, you held the item. Questions of staff?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And my question is simple. I noticed a slight uptick in some of the reported numbers of incidences in 2019. I wondered if management could provide a little bit of additional comment and really just what are the trends? What has caused the moderate uptick? Is it just statistical variance from year to year, or is there a change in risk profile? And maybe just a general comment for the benefit of the board of what are the major risks that produce the security incidents, and is there anything that we need to be doing as a board to deal with these items?
I'll ask Tony Porter to speak with that, our Director of Security and Transportation. Tony, your mic is off.
We got Tony. Don?
Yeah, I don't see Tony. Tony is there, but he was having mic difficulties.
Mr. Chair, I won't be speaking or doing anything complicated. If it's convenient, we can defer this to a bit later till Tony gets a chance to get on. But I think we can deal with the item efficiently once I've just got the question answered.
Okay.
We could try if Laura Purdy's there. Laura's right there.
Thank you, Councillor, and through the chair. It is a statistical information. We do track every time fire, EMS, or police come on site. So this is a reflection of that statistical increase. We don't see a trend moving up.
Okay, and there's been no changes on site that would cause a change to the reporting. We haven't introduced a new risk. There hasn't been a different use. This is just year-over-year variance that is part of the way that it works. Is that a fair comment? Have I interpreted it correctly?
Yes, Councillor, that's a fair comment.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm quite happy to move the recommendations.
Thank you, Dipper. Any further questions of staff?
No, thank you.
No speakers. Councillor Holiday's moving the item. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, 11.13, 2017-2019 Strategic Plan Achievements Year 3. That's been held down. We have a speaker. We just have to get them on the line, so bear with us while the clerk is trying to get the speaker, Rick Amit, on the line.
Thank you, Councillor. We're just working on connecting the speaker.
No problem.
Hello, Rick Amos. My name is Nahom from the City Clerk's office. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, Rick.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor, the speaker is connected.
Okay. So, Mr. Amos, welcome. Good morning, sir. You have 5 minutes, and I'll be timing you from my vantage point here. Good morning. The floor is yours.
Okay, I'm just gonna mute. Okay, I'm getting a lot of feedback. Okay, I think I'm on.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay, thank you. My name's Rick Amos. I'm with the Westside Community Council, representing 12 community associations around the catchment area of Exhibition Place. Recognizing that the novel coronavirus is having devastating effects on all aspects of our lives and will have an impact on planning going forward, we would like to comment on the 2017-2019 Exhibition Place plan, now extended to 2021, and update the status of various tactics proposed in the plan, specifically referencing section items 1113 and 1114. For us, they kind of combine with each other. The strategic plan brands Exhibition Place as the gathering place. Part of fulfilling that branding is connecting to the community where, as the plan points out, tens of thousands of people have recently moved. Quoting the strategic plan, the initial capture and input phase of the strategic plan planning process executed through the spring and fall of 2016 ensured input from a cross-section of stakeholders, including client user groups, city departments, the provincial tourism agency, and the residential community affected by the presence of Exhibition Place. While we respect the process and thank the board and the city for the rigorous consultation process of the Exhibition Place strategic plan and the engagement undertaken in the master plan consultation, we still lack board representation from the actual neighborhood living in close proximity to Exhibition Place. Will the board undertake to rectify this issue going forward and add a board seat to accommodate this stakeholder? 2, local is becoming the new normal. Moving away from a reliance on international and national visitors over the short term and medium term will be a determinant factor to a successful future of recovery. This refocus will take planning, much planning, and discussion from Exhibition Place Board of Governors, Exhibition Place staff, various city departments, and the residents of Toronto. There are valuable historic assets on the grounds of Exhibition Place and associated projects that cannot be allowed to fall to the wayside. These include Garden of the Greek Gods relocation, continued development of Festival Plaza, redevelopment of the baseball diamond, Carillon Tower repairs, Centennial Fountain repairs. What is the status of these projects? There is a large reserve fund that should be used to move these projects forward. The plan calls for opening a new 5-acre urban park surrounding the historic Stanley Barracks. Will this be open to the public in the future, since it has been inaccessible through 2019 and into 2020? Is the construction and the COVID pandemic notwithstanding? Has COVID delayed engineering assessments and inspections of the 9 heritage buildings being managed by Exhibition Place? What is the status of these assessments? What is the status of Withrow Commons? The space has just 2 exhibitions last year. What is the future of this space? We hope you will find our comments and thoughts an appropriate way to move forward in these trying times. Thank you.
Thank you. So were you speaking to 13 and 14 together, Rick?
Yeah, for us, they kind of combine with each other, because one talks about what this basically, number 13 is talking about moving forward to 2021, which also includes item 1114.
Okay, so you're speaking to both of them. Okay, questions of the deputy? Seeing none, thank you very much, Rick, for your comments today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of staff? Seeing none, speakers?
Sorry, I do have I don't know if this is the appropriate time. Is it with regards to 11.13?
Yes.
So I do have a question, if it's okay, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, questions of staff. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, this is to management. Just in light of the ongoing discussions, obviously, across North America here and across the world in terms of diversity, anti-racism, I just wondered if there was thoughts from staff with regards to whether that should be reflected in the extension of 2021. My question really focused, and where staff would think it appropriate, but I was looking at learning and growth. I think, first of all, the plan looks great. The extension, the focus going forward, but I just would like to ask management if there is any thoughts or considerations in terms of bringing that a little more front and center.
Through the chair, this is Don Boyle. Absolutely, I think it's a critical aspect of it. In fact, we just recently, with the reopening in phase 2 and the basketball courts and some of the community use, we are looking at more community use and accessibility within the grounds, as well as from a staff perspective. Just the staff of Exhibition Place represents the general public of the City of Toronto, and so we've had some preliminary discussions with staff, but that is definitely, as we move forward, will be weaved into everything that we do at Exhibition Place.
So just a follow-up question, if that's okay, Mr. Chair, for you?
Yep.
Just wondering if there's an opportunity perhaps to consider that either in a value or principle being reflected in the actual document. So I appreciate where you're going on this, and I think it's great to engage in conversation, and I'm sure there's lots of opportunity to learn from the City of Toronto and others, but just question to management whether that could be considered or reflected some way in the document.
Through the chair, yes, it will be, and we'll get on it. And I will meet with you too as well, just to go through a reflection of that to ensure that we've caught what you're suggesting, and I think that from a board perspective, it's nice to get that input. So we'll look forward to doing that.
Thank you.
Any further questions of staff? Seeing none, speakers. Tess, you'd like to speak? No, you're good? Okay, I'll just move the staff recommendations on 13. Did hear from the deputant, a lot of questions from the deputant. That's why we set up the tenant liaison consultation meetings that are set up. There's a local representation from the local city councillor and another citizen on there. This is through our policy at the City of Toronto. We have citizen representation on this board, but a lot of the questions Mr. Amos was asking should be going through the tenant consultation, tenant liaison meetings. That's what we have those set up for. So with that, I will move 13 and I will move 14. So we'll vote on 13 first. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. On 14, 2020 capital budget update due to COVID-19. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Our next item is 11.21, 2021 electrical and mechanical services price list, Showtech Power and Lighting. Peter, you held the item. Peter, turn your mic on, please. Yeah. Questions to staff?
I got it now. Mr. Chairman, using 2.5% as a base, why are some rates as high as 20 to 25% on the increases? And I don't know whether this should be in camera or not, but there are some rates on there on 21 electrical services that go as high as 20 to 25%, but the average is about 2.5. So why are those so high on this revised price list?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I could respond. You don't need to go in camera. You're just talking about the price list and the percentages. There are about 6 or 7 items on the price list that ranges from 18 to 20%. And the reason for that is because the provider, Showtech Power and Lighting, have indicated in the last 2 years that the price charged at Exhibition Place is way below market. And they wanted to get like almost 100% increase. Exhibition Place staff have refused that high increase in any 1 year, and we're trying to, over the next 3 to 5 years, increase the price by 20%. One of the reasons for that is because, for instance, if you look at fill and drain, in the past, when Exhibition Place was providing this service, our prices were very low because we assumed that one person on the floor could supervise a number of fill and drain, let's say in the home show at the same time. That's not the case. Because of safety concerns and the attachment of fill and drain, you actually need manpower almost for each fill and drain. Also, when we look at these same services in other facilities in and around Toronto and the GTA, they're about 40 to 50% higher. So while our percentages increase seems around 20%, we are about 40 to 60% lower than the rest of the facilities in Toronto, and the increase is fair and reasonable, given how we got there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One more question, if I may. When Showtech bid on these prices originally, those prices were included, and these items were included in their bid. Now they're saying that it's behind the market levels. I don't understand the correlation here. Why is that happening? If they bid on it, they bid on the list, and now they want an increase on the list. I'm not sure where that might go.
Yeah.
Is there a rationale there?
Yeah, through the chair, for clarity, when Showtech started in 2015, Exhibition Place had provided its own price list and asked that Showtech use or start with Exhibition Place price list. That's why we come to the board each year for annual increases. In 2015, the rates were only for 2015-16, and each year we come to the board to seek the board approval for price increases.
Thank you. And one more question, if I may. I gather that this was checked around the marketplace vis-a-vis their request to other competitive prices in the market, was it?
Through the chair, as part of our evaluation and to maintain profitability, we compare with the MTCC, Congress, and International. We obtain their price list and compare what their prices are, just to make sure we're not above the market.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, and I appreciate the answers from staff, and if I'm pleased to move at the appropriate time.
Okay. Any further questions of staff? Seeing none. Speakers? Seeing none. Councilor moves the item. Or sorry, Mr. Leon moves him. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 11.22 Toronto Police Service Board Mounted Unit Occupancy Arrangement, 15 Nova Scotia Avenue, Horse Palace. Mr. Leon, you held the item.
I did. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think this is a great item to have down at Exhibition Place. But in reading over the document that we are provided with, a question came to mind as to who pays the utility costs. That wasn't included in the report, and I just want to be sure that's covered as part of this arrangement. May I ask staff, who pays the utility costs under this agreement?
The utility, through the chair, the utility cost is fully borne as in the existing agreement, and the new agreement, it's paid directly by Police Services Board.
By police. That's what I want to hear, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. I didn't see it in the report. So I'm pleased to move the motion, Mr. Chairman.
We lost you, hard hat. Councillor Lee, or opposed, carried. 11.23, Master Plan update. Did Mr. Amos, is he going to speak to this?
Yes, I am.
Okay, then, you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'm going ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, again, this is it's West Side Community Council representing 12 community associations. We want to support the master plan moving forward. Just want to mention that the next place plan phase 1 proposal report for Exhibition Place is a substantive and illuminating document. We thank all those involved in its preparation. It was quite amazing to read. We have several things to talk about and speak to. As mentioned in our deputation 1113 for the strategic plan moving to December 2021 needs to continue to align with the Exhibition Place master plan. We feel they are not working in consort, but at odds with a holistic approach and rather focus on only the financial aspects of this 192-acre site. It is critical to invest money into the site as a public asset and not solely as a revenue generator. This approach will expand the overall attractiveness of Exhibition Place as a destination gathering place. Exhibition Place has seen the cancellation of numerous events at its various venues since mid-March, and staff advised that they have proactively initiated discussions with the Toronto Office of Recovery and Rebuild regarding the innovative strategies towards reopening the site. And in this context, the master plan proposal report offers the first step towards physical framework to support economic recovery, guiding the restoration of publicly accessible open spaces and promoting flexibility and resilience in the use of civic assets. It also proposes a number of quick start actions that can be implemented in the short term to enhance mobility and connectivity to Exhibition Place as it begins to restore activity. Rather than receive as information the city planning staff progress update on the Exhibition Place master plan framework, we would recommend that the Board of Governors endorse city planning staff recommendations starting immediately to implement elements of item 4.3 quick start initiatives and continue through future phases and technical feasibility studies and further consultations. We remind we remind you the financial subsidy of Exhibition Place by taxpayers is annually quite considerable and will increase substantially through the COVID crisis as capital investments and maintenance of the 192-acre site. Benefits should accrue directly to Torontonians and local residents. Unifying of the municipally owned public Exhibition Place and provincially owned Ontario Place lands would be a positive step, but we ask that rather than waiting for the provincial government's response, you proceed with the master plan through the various phasing stages. We hope this helps you with your discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions of the deputy? Seeing none. Questions of staff? Seeing none. I'm just going to ask Don Boyle, our CEO, just to do a brief comment. I know when this originally came forward, there was lots of concerns from the board. I think Don and his team have worked diligently with planning staff, and I think we're happy what we're seeing here today. Don, could you maybe just comment briefly on the changes and where we are?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I really want to thank the planning staff, Melanie, Dan Nicholson, Solana, on their work with us. They listened. We had lots of consultation, and I want to thank this board for what they did in the last meeting, and really to express how you felt and how you want to see this move forward. A lot of significant changes have taken place within the report, prioritizing the economic development, innovation of the site, while still embracing and enhancing the historical and heritage and green and sustainability aspects of it. The whole aspect with parking and the understanding that hard surface space within Exhibition Place can be and does play a multi-purpose role of event and marshalling, festival space, gathering space, and also parking space. And so how we can better use those, I think we were able to come and use the words within the report that really provides us a guideline for moving forward. And I think a lot of as Rick mentioned, there's a number of short-term aspects that we're able to move forward with. We're really pleased that we were already for the past year been working with City Transportation Services with respect to the Transportation Innovation Hub. And in fact, Exhibition Place will be proposed to the Transportation Committee that Exhibition Place be a flagship transportation innovation zone for the City of Toronto and lead in that area as we have for so many different years. So I think the combination of the connectivity of the site to Ontario Place, the connectivity, and I think it was Councillor Holiday that raised it, to the surrounding neighborhoods and the parkland, and not looking at Exhibition Place in isolation, but rather as part of the overall fabric. We're on the board of the Bentway and working with those committees on how we can integrate with them as well as transportation. So I think very exciting. We're embracing the local community, but understanding that economic development and our ability to be able to leverage that through the exhibition and convention and meeting business and sports and festivals is a comprehensive fashion, and we need to put our arms around it. So very excited. This is a report that, through you, Mr. Chair, I think that the board is in a position to be able to support and move forward as opposed to simply receive. But I leave that with you. But a lot of work has transpired within this document. City planning staff understand that the next steps within this, it speaks to it in the conclusion of the report, will be an initiative driven by this board, and it will be initiated by this board, and I think we'll be able to embrace it and move it forward, and continue with the support of the planning staff, because they've been terrific throughout this process and really did listen and incorporate. So it's a report that I feel a good partnership to.
Thanks, Don. Well said. Any further speakers to the item? Seeing none.
Sorry, Chair, I had my hand up here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Councillor Cressy. Go ahead, Councillor Cressy.
Just very briefly, and we know that COVID has been profoundly destabilizing for everybody. And that includes, and I haven't had a chance to note it, for our Exhibition Place staff and for our tenants. And I think when we talk about a master plan, which is in front of us today as an information item with an update, I think it's in recognition collectively that Exhibition Place must be and can be part of recovery and can help to lead that recovery. And whether that's through quick starts as identified in this master plan related to infrastructure investments and improvements, that's an opportunity to help stimulate recovery while improving X Place at the same time. Or whether it's to, as proposed, to expand and improve our public spaces and their connections around. COVID has shown the necessity for those spaces. You only had to look to Trinity Bellwoods or Cherry Beach to realize how necessary they are. But also, and this is later in the agenda, stimulating and being part of leading recovery through innovation and economic development. And there's the transportation item we've already endorsed speaking to that. And so I think the master plan was important before COVID, but in the context of COVID, it's even more important now, because X Place can be part of recovery and can help to lead part of that recovery. And I think this master plan and a lot of the initiatives in here can be a quick, early, and important start of that process as well. And so I thank staff both our CEO and city planning staff for all their hard work, and look forward to continuing to working with every member of this board to see this through.
Thank you, Councillor Cressy. Seeing no further speakers, I'll speak last. I have a motion, Madam Clerk, you put on the screen, that the Board of Governors of Exhibition Place support the Exhibition Place Master Plan Phase 1 proposals outlined in the report, June 5th, 2020, from the Director of Community Planning, Toronto and East York District. And I do want to thank our CEO, Don Boyle, for working with planning staff. I think we had some concerns. I think a lot of the board members had some concerns. Don gathered those up and took them to planning. I want to thank planning for listening. So I think we now have a document that we're all happy with, and we can move forward. So again, thanks to planning staff and thanks to our fearless leader, Don Boyle, for putting this all together and getting it to a point where this board can support it. So I ask you to support that. So with that, all in favor?
With pleasure, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased to support it.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we have new business, Toronto Hydro. Any questions of staff? Speakers? Madam Clerk, you may just throw it up there, or can we just vote on it? We throw the recommendations up?
We can put the recommendation on the screen for you,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, could you explain what's behind this? We just got it at the last minute.
Yeah, we're gonna just throw it up there.
Yeah, I could.
Don, you want to do a quick comment, Don?
Yeah, very quickly through the chair. This is something we've been working with City Real Estate. Due to COVID, they're backed up with a lot of their stuff. It's a critical project, not only for Exhibition Place, but for the local community. And we were looking for an assessment of the value of the land. It's $39,000. That was a number that was put in late, maybe a day or 48 hours ago to get here. So that's why the timing of the report. We apologize for it, but it's financially it's a critical piece for Hydro and the citizens of Toronto.
So, through you, Mr. Chairman, what is the what's this moment here?
Essentially, what it is it's a piece of infrastructure that the Hydro has on our property as an easement, and there's a value to it that the city charges for.
Okay.
It's supplementary to what's already there, but it's an expansion.
So it's just a matter of clarification and cleaning it up properly.
Yeah, it's a new initiative that's it's supplemental to the existing condition on the site.
Okay, good.
Okay, the motion is, the recommendation's on the screen. All in favor?
All in favor?
Opposed? Carried. We'll go back to 1110 Lakeshore billboard signing, branded cities. I think your motion is ready, Councillor Cressy. Madam Clerk, if you could put the motion on the screen.
Coming right up.
No problem.
Councillor Cressy, your microphone, I think, is off.
My apologies. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I'll begin by moving this amendment. It is for the board to defer this item for one meeting and to request as part of, and to request a report back whereby we have an early analysis on the compatibility of the proposed signage with the city bylaws. And so let me speak to this just to say, and I apologize, Mr. Chair, for having not submitted this yesterday. This is not to imply or even have a debate today about whether or not this is a good proposal or not. I'm not necessarily opposed. I just haven't received any information in the report in front of us as to whether the proposal we're being asked to provisionally endorse complies with the city or not, and the city bylaws. When I read in the recommendation, for example, in recommendation 2, that the board supports the proposal going forward, included but not limited to any bylaw amendments that may be moved. I just think it's presumptuous. I think it's presumptuous for us as a board to endorse a sign proposal without any information from city staff as to whether that proposal complies with city rules or not. And so I just think from a good governance point of view, we should, in considering whether to endorse the proposal, we should have information on the substance of that proposal at the same time. And so again, this is not a debate as to do we support it or do we not. I don't have the information in front of me to provisionally support this, which is why I hope you will support the one meeting deferral so that we can ensure all the information in front of us as we make a decision.
So, Mr. Chairman, yeah, to Councillor Cressy, what you're trying to do, Councillor.
Mr. Leon, one second. Thank you, Councillor Cressy. Any further questions of staff or questions to the mover? Question
the mover.
A nice living room, Peter. I'm enjoying the backdrop.
It's my work room. You, Councillor, I think what you're trying to do, if I hear it right, is you're just trying to get the clarification of this so we have a cleaner picture of it before we move it.
That's all it is. I just want to make sure we all have the necessary information in hand in order to make to move this forward.
Okay, thank you. I can see your rationale. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Councillor Cressy, we'll put your motion on screen. I think it's a fair play, and I'll be supporting your deferral.
Mr.
All in
Speaker,
favor?
can I speak very briefly?
Yes, you can.
And I'll be very brief. I will support the deferral, although I have my own suspicions of the answers that we'll get. But I want to signal that I'm not fond of the particular proposal, and I don't take any negative criticism of staff. They've done good work to negotiate a commercial agreement. I think it's just more the built form that I have concerns with and electronic signs, and I wanted to indicate that at this point in time. But I will support the deferral. I have no problem with more information.
Okay, seeing no further speakers, the motion was before us. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Madam Clerk, is that all?
That completes your business for today, Mr. Chair.
Well, we can't conclude from hearing from Councillor Peruzzo. So, Councillor Peruzzo, can we have a motion to adjourn? Just wouldn't be the same. We didn't hear from you today.
But he arrived on time. That's already new.
Yeah.
I did have one question.
Motion to adjourn.
No, before you do that, I got one question of staff.
You know what? I was happy to get here early, and I'll be the last one to sign off. All right.
Can I have one question of staff?
Hold on, Howard. A question of staff on what? Is this new business?
Yeah, it's just the stuff that was in the news about the bubble at Exhibition Place. If they could just provide us as board members some information, the proposal to compete.
No, I'm sorry. Which one's this one, Howard?
There was in the news yesterday from a sports perspective that Exhibition Place in Toronto was under consideration as a sports bubble. And I was wondering if the staff could just advise us about that.
Yeah, I'll just comment very quickly. That something was leaked out to the media yesterday. There has been very high level talks with us at this point. Nothing's in concrete, but that's something that I think MLSC wanted to look at. We haven't. It just happened yesterday. They were talking to Don. It's very high level at this point, and we don't know where that's going to go. But Don called me late last night that just came out. So there's really nothing to report at this point. That MLC would like to look at our locations as a possible hub for the NHL, but again, it's very high level. There's really nothing to answer, but Don will work with MLSC to look and see if it's even a possibility. Is that fair play, Don?
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, that's fair play. I mean, they reached out at a high level on Friday with a concept. It was something that, from a high level, I think it's reasonable. It's with taking place, but staff have just sat down and we haven't run through any of the logistics as yet at this point. And so I'm sure it's somehow leaked and is out there. They've included in their proposal. They haven't spoke to the media, but it's again at a high level just with the site.
Okay.
Can I ask a question to staff before we adjourn? Fine. I'm just wondering, just information, that's all. We've had so many cancellations on bookings because of the COVID, and I'm just wondering how the future bookings are coming along and discussions for those bookings are coming along with our staff. Are we optimistic for the future business coming forward and the revenues from it? Or are we having challenges with people finding new methods and new approaches to doing this? Just a general comment from staff, if I may. Excuse me.
Through the chair, our book of business is solid. In fact, our sales teams are continually to make sales and are working on a host of leads. Our team we're actually working with public health on reopening plans and protocols. And I really want to thank the staff at Exhibition Place for putting together a really comprehensive package. We have staff that are working both nationally and internationally on industry panels. And the work that's being done is absolutely terrific, including videos of protocols and work practices for staff on site. So things moving forward are extremely good. A lot of our book of business simply moved to next year, so we've got a compressed schedule. So we are absolutely built to the seams moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased with that.
Thank you.
And thanks to
So
staff.
just before we give it to Councilor Pruitt to adjourn, just want to thank our awesome clerk staff for running a very efficient meeting this morning. So thank you. Councilor Pruitt, motion to adjourn.
Happily moved.
I so move.
Okay, everyone have a great day, everybody. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Ah, good.